3 days after being diagnosed with stomach cancer, I chose a grave for myself, reputed to have excellent position to bless my next life, hoping not to be the despised true heiress again, to not have people covet my parents, my brother, everything, to not be unloved. I burned my photos and clothes, erasing all traces of my existence. Then, I slit my wrists and lay in the bathtub, waiting peacefully for death. Suddenly, a call came from the cemetery. "Miss Lena, I'm terribly sorry. Two agents made a mistake. This grave has also been sold to another gentleman. Would you mind relocating to a different one?" "I can't relocate. You hear about moving cars, moving nests, but moving a grave." Overwhelmed with frustration, I sat up abruptly in the bathtub, blood-stained water splashing onto the floor. A stream of curses rushed to my lips, but I held them back out of habit. I watched as the contract was entered into the system with my details. "Ah, yes." The cemetery staff replied apologetically, "But Mr. Gavin also signed a contract, so, he's not in the system, right?" I interjected coolly. "Sorry, I can't relocate." Previously, in a family with 2 daughters, I couldn't win, and my parents and brother ended up belonging to someone else. Now, with one grave sold to 2 people, surely I won't lose this time when the grave is clearly registered in my name. There was a moment of silence on the other end of the line, when they spoke again. It was a deep, magnetic, unfamiliar voice. "Miss Lena, feel free to name your price, any amount, as compensation from me." My vision darkened slightly from the blood loss. I steadied myself with a hand to my forehead, trying to focus. "It's not about the money, I need it urgently." But it was clear that the cemetery was leaning towards this seemingly wealthy patron. They tried to persuade me. "Miss Lena, we really do have many better graves. Mr. Gavin, he really needs one more urgently. Even in a rush, a little delay won't hurt. Is Mr. Gavin using it for himself?" My abrupt interruption made them pause briefly, but I didn't wait for their answer. I gazed at my wrists submerged in the blood-red warm water and softly played my trump card. "I'm currently cutting my wrists. I'll be dead today. I really need it urgently. Please don't compete with me over this. Or if you really like it, shall we compete?" The line went suddenly quiet. I also said no more. Mentally calculating a bit, it felt more secure to be cremated in the afternoon and buried the same day. This position treasure of a grave, I was determined to have it, but that meant I needed to ensure someone would be ready to recover my body immediately after my death. No delays. Clenching my teeth, I picked up the phone resting beside the bathtub and sent a message to the pinned group chat. "Family, I'm planning to commit suicide. Could anyone spare the time to come and collect my body?" At everyone, I didn't mention the stomach cancer, just sent the message. Within seconds, I received a notification. "Dad has left the group chat." I chuckled bitterly, lowering my gaze, thinking, perfect, once the body collection is arranged, the group will dissolve too. After all, they have another family group, one without me. On the phone, Gavin cleared his throat and spoke, his tone a complex mix of shock, hesitation, and caution. "Miss Lena, you're joking, right?" Blood was trickling down from my wrist to my elbow, dropping into the bathtub water with a distinct plop sound, taking the place of my reply. Silence fell again on the other end of the phone for an instant before the sound of the wind in the background suddenly intensified. However, I didn't pay attention to it as the dizziness in front of my eyes was getting worse. No one in the group chat had responded yet. I pursed my lips and decided to take a photo of my bloodied wrist and sent it with the message, "Sorry, no choice left. It's urgent here at the cemetery. They are running out of spaces. Can you please respond just this once, for the last time? Is that okay?" Buzz buzz, my phone vibrated faintly after a few seconds. Unexpectedly, someone replied. "First brother has replied with received." "Oh, received. To hell with received. Thank you." I sighed in relief and exited the interface. I was about to uninstall WeChat when my phone vibrated again with new messages. Lily sent a message. "Sister, I'm sorry. I'll ask mom and dad and the brothers to head back now." Lily sent a message. "First brother is busy, let's not bother him." Third brother replied, "Go back my foot, isn't all this fuss because it's her birthday today, and we took Lily out for a day trip. We said we'd be back in the evening to celebrate with you. Lena, what more do you want? Must you drag the whole family down to feel satisfied? Can't you go a day without playing the victim?" A sharp pang hit my chest. I bit my lip, a bitter laugh escaping me. "Yeah, About to die, right? Lily was the daughter my parents adopted from an orphanage 3 years after they accidentally lost me, meant to carry their longing and guilt. She was essentially my replacement, but ever since I returned to the Lennon family, I had always envied her. She could pull the family out of their shadows and be their sunshine, unlike me, burdened with all sorts of post-traumatic defects from being kidnapped and abused, lack of proper upbringing, timidity, crudeness, which made them feel guilty and simultaneously fostered a restrained and cautious distance from me. They were so polite it was as if I was just a permanent guest, not a family member like Lily who could joke, pout, and play around with them over the years. I've tried so hard to get close to them, to be part of this family, to bridge that 7-year gap of absence, to make them love me, but no matter how much I tried to please them, they always favored Lily more, even gradually misinterpreting my actions as jealousy or bullying, vying for attention with Lily. They grew to despise me more and more until it finally broke. We've already checked. Those pills in your bottle are just vitamins. So what exactly are you pretending to have stomach pains for every now and then, using our guilt to have us wait on you hand and foot? Is that fun? Competing with Lily for affection? Is that fun? No, it's not fun. So now I have stomach cancer. I'm dying. I won't be bothering their precious Lily anymore. I don't want this family anymore. Mom replied, Lena, how did you turn out this way? If you want to blame someone, blame me. But please stop this. I'm coming back now. Third brother replied. Mom, leave her, always lying, planning to commit suicide. Is it? Fine, go drown in the sea. It'll save us the trouble of cleaning up and dealing with the body. From now on, let's act as if she never existed in this family. After a pause of about 10 seconds, hesitantly, another message was sent. Third brother replied, sometimes I even wish you had never come back. The pain from the cut on my wrist was excruciating. Far more intense than when I had first made the cut. Tears uncontrollably filled my eyes as the pain overwhelmed me. Lena, Gavin's voice came through the phone, filled with deep concern and urgency after not hearing from me for a while. The sound of the wind howled in the background as he demanded, talk. My senses snapped back to my body. Blinking, I pressed down near the base of my wrist and slowly got up from the bathtub. With a smile, I closed my eyes. I've left the grave to you. I don't need it anymore. The cemetery required us to meet and sign a transfer agreement in person because it was tied to my information. I decided to set the meeting at the hospital. After all, my wrist had been bleeding for quite some time. If I didn't get it bandaged, I might not even make it to the sea. It would be troublesome for someone to handle my body on the way to death. What I hadn't expected was Gavin's timing, supposedly coming from the suburban cemetery. How had he arrived only a few minutes after me, who was in the city? The agent wiped the sweat from his forehead. As soon as Mr. Gavin heard you were attempting suicide, he looked up your address from the records, and sped into the city. Surprised, I turned to look at the calm-faced man next to him, dressed in a white t-shirt, a shirt jacket, and casual pants. He was tall and stood straight, quite the handsome figure. You just got here. Gavin, slightly out of breath, looked at me. Come on. Let's find a nurse. Patient number 007, Lena, please proceed to the treatment room. The mechanical announcement interrupted him. Gavin looked at me in disbelief. You actually registered in line with your condition? I nodded blankly. Yeah, that's right. There was no rush, so I decided not to use up emergency medical resources. Lena, a familiar voice filled with surprise and a cool tone called out from not far behind me. Turning around, I didn't expect to see Lance, the second son of the Lennon family, and my older brother, an outstanding young physician at the city hospital. What was he doing at the People's Hospital? Clearly, Lance hadn't expected the Lena being called to be me. Frowning, he approached me, his phone screen still lit, possibly displaying a group chat. Did you know I was here for a seminar today and decided to put on a show? His voice carried a distant and indifferent reproach. Lance's gaze swept over my hastily bandaged wrist. A flicker of disappointment and impatience in his eyes. There's a limit to how much you can act out. Among the 3 Lennon sons, with the oldest in business, the second in medicine, and the youngest in racing, the latter known for his sharp tongue, the older 2 were busier and more reserved. Their usual indifference meant Lance's words didn't affect me much. Gavin, on the other hand, frowned, stepped forward, grabbed me, and pulled me into the treatment room, pushing me to sit down. Doctor, it's an emergency. We can't delay any longer. As he spoke, Gavin's gaze darkly flicked towards Lance outside the door, clearly implying something. Lance's expression subtly changed, his brow furrowing even more tightly. After standing motionless for a few seconds, he suddenly let out a cold snort. It seems only Lily would believe that. She's really worried about you and has been urging our parents to come back, as you wished. Now everyone in the family is unhappy. Are you satisfied now? After saying that, he glanced at my wrist again. Lance's eyes darkened, but he said nothing, assured that I would obediently follow. He turned and walked towards the door. Just then, the doctor, who had read the information on my medical card, suddenly exclaimed in surprise, "You have stomach cancer. You should be seeing a gastroenterologist, not a surgeon." The entire clinic fell silent in an instant. Gavin, who was holding my wrist, suddenly froze. Lance stopped outside the door as well. However, unlike Gavin's shock, his face clearly showed impatience and scorn. First suicide, now stomach cancer. Lena, you should know when to stop. If you keep this up, you really won't be able to end it even if you don't die. His eyes trembled slightly. I pursed my lips and gave a bitter smile, nodding self-mockingly. Yeah, then I might as well die. Lance snorted coldly, tiredly pinching the bridge of his nose. His tone was filled with impatience bordering on disgust. I've been in meetings for hours. I'm very tired. I don't have the energy to watch you put on a show. Lance's job was demanding and irregular. Over the years, I had become accustomed to caring for him silently and causing less trouble. In the past, I wouldn't have needed him to mention he was tired. I would have automatically gone up to him, accommodating and trying to please him. But this time, I held back. Sitting quietly without moving, I just looked up at him, my expression calm. Then you should go home and rest early. Lance's expression suddenly stiffened. His eyes showed a mix of panic and confusion that I couldn't understand. Then they quickly returned to indifference. Whatever, if you can, do as you say and don't come back home. My heart was as calm as stagnant water. I nodded and smiled lightly. All right, I'll listen to you. Listen to hell. Suddenly, Gavin, standing beside me, spoke up coldly. He quickly and deftly pulled my wrist onto the table and handed it to the doctor. Then he straightened up, stood in front of me, and turned to look at Lance with a dark and unfriendly gaze, saying just one word, "Leave." The clinic door closed behind him. Gavin pulled up a chair and sat down next to me. He remained silent, quietly watching the doctor unwrap the bandage. I turned my head to look at him and broke the silence. "Give me the transfer contract. I'll sign it now." It would save his time and he wouldn't have to wait here. Gavin didn't respond, his gaze sweeping over the brutal cut on my wrist. He pursed his lips, then looked up into my eyes. "You said it was urgent. Why give it up? If you're not going home, where will you go?" This man, once he had what he needed, should have been satisfied, right? Why ask for reasons? It felt like he was forcing a confession. I initially thought to brush him off by saying, "I don't need it anymore." But Gavin's gaze was too serious and piercing. In a moment, I even felt that lying would absolutely not end the conversation. I took a breath. I could only helplessly say, "It's too much trouble to have someone collect a body, so I'm planning to feed the fish in the Dead Sea. No need for a grave." The doctor seemed startled by my bizarre statement. His hands weakened as he wrapped the bandage, accidentally tightening it painfully. He apologized with a smile and cut the bandage. After a pause, he softly said, "Won't you try to treat it, with proper control? Stomach cancer can be manageable for 5 years." I was stunned for a moment, then shook my head with a smile. "Well, I've lived enough, a few more years don't matter." I withdrew my bandaged wrist and got up, tilting my head. I intended to ask Gavin for the contract again, but my gaze unintentionally swept past the agent behind him. Blinking, I suddenly realized, these two, they came empty-handed, right? So, the transfer contract. Gavin paused, his thin lips pursed, his eyes shadowy and indistinct. After a few seconds of thought, he slowly said, "Lena, how about we share a grave?" It might have been the blood loss, but more likely it was Gavin's shocking suggestion that darkened my vision. It took several seconds to steady my mind before I finally found my voice. "What, isn't that what you said?" Gavin smirked. "If you really like the idea, let's do it together. I think it's a great fit for a loner like me. On holidays, when your relatives come to offer incense and flowers, I can share in that. it's quite a deal." After a pause, Gavin met my stunned gaze with a gentle smile. "In return, I'll take care of your body, how about that?" I raised my hand to my chest, pulling back slightly. Why was I feeling tempted? But as you can see, my family might not really come to visit my grave. "No worries." Gavin seemed unconcerned. "Having a neighbor is better than none." With that, he stood up and looked at me, his expression relaxed and casual, starkly different from the aloofness he had shown earlier to Lance. "If Miss Lena is unwilling, I can look elsewhere. Deal?" I picked a stunningly beautiful beach. The sunset drenched the horizon, and the sound of the waves was constant. It was a fitting end to a dazzling life. But I kind of regretted sharing a grave with Gavin. This guy, too much trouble. "Let's watch the sunset. We're not in a hurry. The sea is too cold at night. Might as well wait for tomorrow's sunrise before dying." All right. You deal with the body, you make the call." Waiting for the sunrise made for a long night, and blood loss made it easy to feel sleepy. I thought the alarm set for 5:30 p.m. would wake me up when I fell asleep again, but unexpectedly, it was a video call from third brother at 10:32 p.m. Gavin leaned back in his car seat, sound asleep. I quietly opened the car door and got out. As the video connected, I was greeted by a family gathering around the dinner table, with Lily prominently seated at the center. "Oh, the eldest brother isn't here. Lena, are you out of your mind?" Zoe, the third brother, frowned deeply, his tone frantic, making a fuss to drag the whole family back. "And where are you? Poor Lily even spent the afternoon preparing a feast for you. Get back here now." Next to Lily, their mother sighed as well. Her voice was still gentle but couldn't hide her fatigue and disappointment. "Lena, stop making a scene. Come back and celebrate your birthday." "Okay," their father snorted coldly. "Making your elders wait for you to eat. What did you even learn at school?" My gaze swept over the dinner table, clearly touched. I pursed my lips and chuckled softly, suddenly thinking of another problem. Gavin dealing with the body in my death could clearly be separate events. Why wait for him? I smiled silently, lips pursed. The next second, I decisively took a step. The sound of water roared, a dead silence at the bottom of my heart. I'm dying, not going back. The door unlocked, and suddenly the front door swung open. Dressed in a suit, the eldest brother appeared at the doorway. His gaze swept over the dining table and, after changing his shoes, he walked straight to the only bedroom on the first floor. "My room. Got caught up in a meeting this afternoon and forgot about Lena. Is she still causing trouble?" His tone was indifferent as he reached out and turned the handle of my bedroom door. The house was completely empty. All my belongings had already vanished. The sliding door of the bathroom was wide open, revealing a bathtub filled with blood, a shocking sight. Everyone's expression changed instantly. Lance, who is a doctor, reacted the most. He stood up abruptly and quickly walked into the room. Upon seeing the amount of blood in the tub, he gasped in shock. His eyes quickly filled with panic and disbelief. No, this isn't right. The amount of bleeding, she really wanted to die." After saying that, as if looking for confirmation, Lance hurriedly pulled out his phone. He fumbled with it for a bit before zooming in. The video was too far away for me to see what he was actually looking at, but strangely, I guessed he must be viewing the picture of my wrist cutting. I thought to myself, being a doctor, how could Lance think I was just acting if he had seen the severity of my cuts? It turns out he hadn't looked at it at all, feeling a cold emptiness inside. I tilted my head back and reached to hang up the call, but suddenly, Lance snatched the phone from my brother. His face was nearly colorless. "Lena, stop this. Come back, come home, or tell me where you are. I'll come get you." The seawater was cool, reaching up to my waist. Gavin was right, the sea at night is truly chilling. I stopped walking, and my gaze finally fell back on the screen. I looked at Lance indifferently. "Go back, then what? Continue living like an outsider, watching how much you all love Lily. But we haven't done anything wrong to you." My brother's awkward words came through the speaker clearly. Unlike Lance, who just realized I might actually have stomach cancer, his tone still contained a certainty that I was pretending, yet, his attitude wasn't as harsh anymore. "No one has mistreated you at home for all these years. Before you started all this scheming, didn't everyone treat you with the utmost care? Why do you have to compete with Lily like this?" "Yes, they never mistreated me, they just didn't love me. Every minor cold Lily had, The whole family would coax her to take medicine, but when I resorted to wrist cutting, all I got was, "If you get cancer, just die far away, don't bother us with your corpse. These are my own parents, my own brother, why can't I fight back? Why the hell shouldn't I, Lena?" Lance's voice trembled, his Adam's apple bobbing. "Come back home first, let's talk then. If you're really sick, your second brother will save you." I didn't stop walking. The seawater continued to rise, my bandaged wrist stung as it got soaked. I forced a smile and interrupted him. "Lance, I haven't had a brother or a home for a long time." Lance's expression froze harshly. It seemed that only today he suddenly remembered. It had been a very long time since I last called them brother. It started the day my stomach medicine mysteriously turned into vitamins. They said it themselves. "Lena, we really wish Lily was our real sister." Lance's face showed a panicked regret, shaking his head, his voice quivering. "No, it wasn't like that. Those were just words spoken in disappointment. We just didn't want you to be jealous of Lily, to keep competing with her." Suddenly, a large hand reached over and snatched the phone away. I turned my head in surprise. I turned around to find Gavin already standing behind me, his gaze deep and reflective under the moonlight. People are jealous for only two reasons: either they think the other person doesn't deserve what they have, or they're envious because they lack it themselves. "You claim she's jealous, yet you never considered providing what she lacks," he said with a cold sneer, his thin lips curving slightly. "Favoritism is just favoritism, why make excuses? It's rubbish." With a splash, a phone was thrown into the sea, creating gentle ripples. My pupils dilated slightly. "Wait, isn't that my phone? To throw it so casually, Lena." Gavin took my wrist and stood quietly in the seawater, facing me. He didn't say more, just sighed softly. Bending down, he lifted me horizontally out of the water, holding me tightly in his arms, and walked towards the shore. "I have a home, come see it. If you like it, we could share it." But that night, I didn't really get a good look at Gavin's house. Loss of blood and the chill had given me a mild fever. By the time we were in the car, I ended up nestled weakly in the warm, soft bed, watching Gavin sit by the bedside, carefully changing my bandages. "I think I forgot to ask." I sniffled slightly, my voice nasal. "Why did you buy a grave?" He didn't seem sick at all. Gavin raised an eyebrow, his expression indifferent. "Just being prepared, is that all?" I was confused. The cemetery broker had clearly said during the day that Gavin needed that grave more than I did. If it was just about being prepared, why was he so insistent? "Did you also consider its position?" The grave's position was calculated by a master according to my birth date. "It shouldn't suit everyone." "No," Gavin replied softly as he finished tying the bandage. "Next to that grave are my parents." I froze, caught off guard. I opened my mouth several times but couldn't find the words to say. Gavin's response brought a smile to his lips, his tone light, bearing no trace of sadness. "The big mall arson case that shocked the city 7 years ago, they died in that. They were picking out a gift for me becoming a firefighter. Recently, I almost died in a fire myself. I thought, if I made it out alive, I'd buy a grave next to my parents, just in case an accident happens before any arrangements can be made. And then, I met you." After finishing, Gavin stood up and took several stuffed toys from a nearby cabinet, lining them up by my bed. "The guard arrangement is set. Sleep peacefully now." Placing the last bunny next to my pillow, Gavin patted its head. "I appoint you as the knight to the princess." I couldn't help but laugh. His long, pale, distinctively jointed hand then gently tousled my hair. Gavin looked into my eyes, his expression focused and tender. "The wild Lena plucked from the sea, try hard, and live a little longer." A surge of emotion welled up, reddening my eyes. I quickly turned away, looking at the silly bunny next to my pillow. With a forced light-hearted laugh, she said, "See you tomorrow, my knight." Taking advantage of a fever, I comfortably lazed around in my room for 3 days. However, Gavin gradually noticed my attempts to avoid going out and adamantly dragged me outside, intending to take me to the hospital. Clinging desperately to the door frame, I solemnly swore to the heavens, "I promise I'll take my medicine on time and try my best to stay alive. Let's skip the hospital, please. The first step in treating late-stage gastric cancer is chemotherapy." I'm really not keen on that, Lena," Gavin said, his face stern, pronouncing my name clearly, his grip around my waist tightening. I simply loosened my hands, pressed them together in prayer, and blinked pitifully at him. Please, I really don't want to go to the hosp. My words halted as my face suddenly turned grave. My gaze shifted past Gavin's shoulder to the doorway, where 4 people stood, unnoticed and uncertain how long they had been there. Lena, my visibly exhausted mother, stepped forward. She barely uttered my name before tears started flowing. We've finally found you. The whole family has been frantic searching for you. Your eldest and second brothers are still by the seaside waiting. It's truly a relief that you're all right. I pursed my lips, remaining silent, my eyes coldly shifting to look behind her. There was Lily, her eyes red, her gaze filled with guilt and a trace of evasiveness. My father, who seemed to have aged a decade in just a few days, his demeanor no longer imposing but cautious, and my third brother, Zoe, whose expression was ambiguous, no longer speaking harshly to me as before. Everyone suddenly seemed so gentle, as if the disdainful words they had towards me 3 days ago had not been spoken by them. Oh, I get it. They must have confirmed my diagnosis of gastric cancer, right? Is this their moment of repentance? When I was alive and well, I was trivial, distant, and despised. Facing death, everything changes instantly, and suddenly I'm cherished, right? Their faces change faster than the weather. I wanted to throw them a scornful sneer, but a nauseous feeling surged in my stomach. The sour taste uncontrollably brought up blood. Lena, my mother exclaimed, covering her mouth as tears quickly filled her eyes. She stepped forward, wanting to touch me, but I waved her off. Don't, it's disgusting. My mother's expression froze, struck by the distress. Gavin held my arm tightly, allowing me to lean on him for support. His hand gently patted my back, his voice deep and serious. We must go to the hospital. I immediately made a face. Bro, no. Gavin raised his eyebrows, his tone leaving no room for refusal but softened slightly. Go. And when we return, you'll get some sweets. Let's go. I straightened up immediately. The disease must have spread in the past few days, causing bile reflux. After vomiting, I always felt a bitter taste and craved something sweet. My own sister, I'll handle it myself. Suddenly, my third brother Zoe stepped forward, his expression filled with profound loss, but his attitude firm as he reached out to take me from Gavin. No need to trouble you. I withdrew my arm, frowning as I dodged Zoe's hand, finding his actions utterly absurd. Why would that be less trouble for Mr. Zoe? Zoe's body shuddered violently, his lips trembled as he spoke in an inexplicably soft voice. Lena, the things I said that day were said in anger. They weren't sincere. I apologize to you. I'm sorry. No matter what, don't let it affect your health, okay? I'll take you to the hospital. And after the checkup, I'll bring you home to recover. I couldn't help but let out a laugh, finally showing the same distance and indifference they had shown me. Mr. Zoe, from what strange reasoning do you speak of going home? At Lennon's house, all my belongings have already been destroyed. I also took your advice and tried to end it all in the sea, so you wouldn't have to bother collecting my body. Though I didn't succeed and was rescued, you might as well consider me dead. The person standing here now is a wild Lena. As I spoke, my gaze was distant, and I glanced at Gavin. He seemed unresponsive, but the slight curl of his lips was harder to suppress than an AK. Mr. Lou, now you can have your wish. As if I never existed in your home. Zoe's body swayed, and her lips had lost their color. A person who had always been unrestrained and unapologetic on the racetrack now showed a look of irreparable regret. Her expression turned ashen, and she could not utter another word. With tearful eyes, she repeated in agony, I'm sorry. Sam Lennon, my father, approached me hesitantly and handed me a brand new phone with a nervous smile. Trying to appear casual yet eager to please, he said, It's okay. Lena should be angry with us. It's all right if you don't come home. I've bought you a new phone. I've even reinstalled WeChat for you. Could you add Dad back? At least let me be able to contact you. Okay. As he spoke, he pulled out his own phone as if to prove something, carefully showing me the screen. Leaving the group chat that day was my mistake. Your mom has added me back. Look, Dad is in it now. I glanced down at my Patrick Star avatar, which was at the top of the list, and pursed my lips, stepping back subtly to put some distance between us, and stood beside Gavin. No need. One family group chat is enough. Let's disband this group, just like you always wanted. Pretend the lost Lena never came back. Don't come looking for me anymore, it's really annoying. They don't want me, I don't want them either. Is your WeChat profile picture a couple's photo? The other half is SpongeBob. Gavin asked nonchalantly as the scenery outside the car window swiftly moved backwards. I nodded. Yeah, sort of. With whom? Gavin's voice faltered a bit. A boyfriend. With my QQ. I responded naturally. Gavin clicked his tongue and pursed his lips in disapproval. I retorted, what's the matter? You abandoned QQ just because you have WeChat now. They come from the same mother. Even if QQ is less popular than WeChat now, you shouldn't neglect it. As I spoke, a bitter taste filled my mouth, and I leaned back in the seat, holding out my hand towards Gavin playfully. I asked for a favor. Gavin, can I have some candy in advance, and then go to the hospital? Aren't you calling me bro anymore? Gavin glanced at me somberly. Could it be that bro was just a casual term? This bro is not that bro. Just give me a candy. I laughed cheekily at Gavin. Gavin laughed along for a moment. No way. His smile froze on his face immediately. I secretly clenched my teeth. As the car stopped at a zebra crossing waiting for the traffic light, Gavin tapped my forehead. Don't think I don't know what you're up to. Eating candy means you're not fasting, so you think you can skip the hospital, right? You promised me, no backing out. Caught in my little trick. I shook my head and pouted, playing dumb. I said goodnight to my night. I didn't say I agreed to you. Gavin scoffed. Fine, tonight I'll demote that dead rabbit and exile it to the garbage. As the light turned green and Gavin paused, he started the car again. The scenery outside continued to move backward. I restrained my smile and said softly, I'm sorry, Gavin, no one will be there to put flowers on my grave now. Gavin seemed unconcerned, his eyes softly crinkled with a gentle smile. Then we just have to try harder to live a bold and carefree life. Make it bright and splendid while you can. No need to bring flowers after I'm gone. My situation isn't exactly great. After the examination, the doctor didn't give a definitive prognosis. Let's start with chemotherapy and combine it with localized treatment to see how it goes. If the results are good and the condition stabilizes, we can consider surgical removal. Chemotherapy. I sat despondently on a bench in front of the merry-go-round, my mood gloomy as a mushroom cloud. Even though Gavin brought me to the amusement park as a reward for my recent bravery in taking injections and diligently taking my medication, I still couldn't muster any joy. Gavin went off to buy some sausages, tying a helium balloon on my arm before he left, asking me to wait for him here. I thought about sneaking away while he was gone. Lena, a suppressed voice, filled with pleading, suddenly came from behind. Startled, I turned to see my elder brother Rain standing not far away, his eyes red as he looked at me. How about you come home with me? It's not good for you to be out and about with your illness. At least at home, you have your second brother. You know his medical skills are top-notch. He can take good care of you. I couldn't help but chuckle, cutting him off. My gaze shifted to his side where my second brother Lance stood. Didn't I get this illness right under Dr. Lance's watch? Advanced gastric cancer. How could there have been no symptoms exposed during this time? Yet Lance, who could tell Lily was in pain from menstrual cramps just by her facial expression, never believed my stomach pains were real. I just... Lance showed a guilty expression, his face pale as he opened his mouth to speak, but before he could say anything, Gavin, who had returned with the sausages, interrupted him. Brother, my eyes lit up at the sight of the sausages. Gavin coldly glanced over the few people who came with the Lennon family, scoffing before handing me the sausage. Eat slowly, be careful, it's hot. Ugh, vomiting followed right after Gavin's words. I couldn't help but kneel down, retching in agony. Gavin wanted to come forward, but Lance was quicker, kneeling down and reaching out to help me. Lena, get away, don't touch me. Perhaps I had been too bothered by their pestering these days. Suddenly, my emotions snapped. A surge of nameless anger welled up from within, making my eyes redden too. What the hell were you doing earlier? For years, I humbled myself to earn love, the curse words that had circled in my mind countless times. Enough to circle the earth 3 times. Finally came out, stunning everyone present. I clenched my fist, forcing myself not to cry. Was I part of the Lennon family for just a year or two? It has been 15 years. I waited for you to accept and love me again for 15 years. Sure, I'm not as radiant and approachable as Lily, but did I not want to live freely? Did I not want to be liked without having to grovel or be meek? No one taught me how. 7 years of absence inevitably made us distant and strangers. It would take a lot of love and care to bridge that gap, but they already had Lily, who fit their expectations perfectly, so they didn't want to start over with someone like me. They just muddled through, maintaining a facade of peace. I became an outsider in this family, adorned in fine clothes and jewels, but never fitting in. Finally, tears escaped my eyes, trickling down my cheeks and falling to the ground. I unclenched my fists, my eyes returning to a dead calm. Stay away, don't come back with your so-called remorse and guilt to disgust me. I really don't want to see any of you again. To hell with your sorry. What I've always wanted was to be truly worthy of respect, not just empty apologies. Sorry, it came abruptly, at the back of the Lennon family gathering. An awkward apology broke the silence, with reddened eyes. Lily stepped forward and slowly knelt down in front of me. As she opened her mouth to speak, she burst into tears, unable to continue. Sis, I'm sorry, I just didn't want you to take away our family, didn't want to be pushed out. I never meant to cause your death. After all, she was a girl who grew up doted on by the entire Lennon family. Setting aside those pretenses of understanding and the acts that deepened the family's prejudice against me, strictly speaking, Lily really only harmed me once. It was when the family started worrying about my frequent stomach pains and decided to take me to the hospital for a checkup. She replaced my stomach medicine with vitamins, just that once, but from then on, it cemented the fact that I was lying and manipulating, leveraging the family's guilt for favor. Can I blame her? Of course, I do, but I can't in good conscience say it was all her fault. I know that. The Lennon family knows that too. Lily, you should kneel, but it's not just you who should. However, that's not important, because kneeling is useless. Your repentance only makes me feel disgusted. What use is all this remorse and lifelong regret? No one lives their life burdened with guilt. They always find excuses to let themselves off the hook, to move on, like how they felt so guilty when I first went missing. Didn't they adopt Lily a few years later to make themselves feel better? So, what's their guilt worth? They only love me most when they've lost me. Ridiculous. I won't even spare them another glance. I grabbed Gavin's sleeve and turned to leave. Just as I took a few steps, I heard my older brother Rain's voice, choked with tears behind me. Lena, please, call me brother one more time. Come back home, I'm begging you. I paused in my tracks, turning around to see Rain, who had also knelt down. I tilted my head slightly and cracked a cold smile. Received. After that day, the Lennon family stopped their insincere confessions towards me. Instead, they began taking turns kneeling at Gavin's family's doorstep, pleading for me to come home. I chose to ignore them, happily undergoing chemotherapy while dragging Gavin along to do things I never had the chance to do before. Gavin called this the flowers before the grave plan. However, this plan was short-lived. It only lasted a little over 2 months, abruptly ending when I lost all my hair due to the treatments. I could vividly feel each session of chemotherapy draining a part of my strength and vitality. Gavin, you don't seem very sad, I said during my 3rd hospitalization for chemotherapy, shaking my head as I lay in bed, playing with the reflection of my bald head on his face. The results of these treatments haven't been very good. Gavin, while peeling an apple for me, still managed a slight smile, because we've shared everything, even the prospect of death. Having you by my side through life and death, the outcome doesn't really matter. I lowered my eyes and fiddled with the ears of a stuffed rabbit, pursing my lips. You'd better be. I noticed a face briefly flicker past the glass window on the door frame. I looked up, but the person quickly hid away. I couldn't see the face clearly, but I knew who it was from the muffled, sobbing cries that were annoyingly loud and frequent. Tell them to go away. I don't want to hear their crying. It's irritating. Gavin nodded but didn't stand up right away. His gaze flickered to the door as he spoke a bit louder. Lily seems to be moving out of the Lennon household. Your 3rd brother seems to have developed a serious self-harming tendency. When I saw him yesterday, his wrists were covered in cuts. He won't die from it, but it must hurt. Your 2nd brother hasn't come by again. I heard he's frantically searching for stomach cancer treatments every day. Your parents? I don't want to know, Gavin, I said quietly. I don't know how I can ever settle things with them. I just know that I'm not curious about their fate. Their misery won't make me happy, as it can't erase my pain. Their amends are unnecessary, as I don't believe this family will ever truly feel remorse, unless they die. Before the sixth chemotherapy session, the first snow fell. I curled up in a rocking chair under a wool blanket, while Gavin read beside me. Gently rocking the chair to lull me to sleep, I sleepily lifted my eyelids. In the yard outside the French windows, 6 people knelt neatly in a row. I stretched lazily and emerged from the blanket, looking at Gavin. Let's visit the cemetery. I want to see my auspicious grave and maybe recognize our parents' graves too. It was time for my last chemotherapy session. The outcome would determine whether I was just waiting to die or if there was a chance for life. This grave brought us together. It must be quite spiritual. I want to pay my respects. Maybe it could shift some luck from my next life to this one. No need to bless my next life's happiness. Just let me live this one. Gavin's slender fingers paused while turning a page. He lowered his eyes and pressed his lips together tightly, stopping for a full minute before finally nodding. When he spoke again, his voice was hoarsely severe. Okay. The soft scarf wrapped around my neck and Gavin placed the bunny-eared hat he bought for me at Disneyland on my head, wrapped snugly in the fluffy warmth. Only my eyes peeked out. Gavin couldn't help himself and lightly tapped my forehead with his index finger. Like a ball, I plopped down on the couch, taking a few deep breaths before I could muster the energy to laugh out. Picking on a sick person, is that polite, bro? Can't help it with kids. Gavin chuckled as he pulled a lollipop from his pocket. After unwrapping it, he gently lowered my scarf and popped the candy into my mouth, a sweet relief from the taste of blood. Then, pulling out a marker from the coffee table, he knelt on one knee, gently opened my palm, and began writing something. Confused but amused, I smiled at him. What's this? Writing down your phone number. Gavin smiled too, but his eyes were tinged red. Just making a mark, so you're easier to find if lost. When he put away the marker, a character, G, lay in my palm. I clenched my hand quietly, a tear falling through my fingers as I was about to relax my grip. Gavin, with trembling hands, held my hand in his, bowing his head. He knelt there, his face buried, sobbing silently. This was the first time in the 6 months since I'd known him that I saw his grief firsthand. Lena, don't leave me, please. At Gavin's parents' graves, I bowed my head, then, looking at Gavin standing afar, I whispered with a mischievous grin, sorry Mom and Dad, I look a bit rough right now, but believe me, when I have hair and a healthy glow, I'm really quite pretty. So, dear strangers, please look after me. If I live, I'll be your daughter-in-law. If not, in the next life. I paused, catching my breath, regaining some strength before weakly smiling. Whether as a daughter or a daughter-in-law, I'll be part of your family. Showing them the G in my palm, I pointed to an empty grave next to Gavin's. When I die, I'll share a grave with Gavin. We're bound to meet in the next life. If not, this mark will help Gavin find me. The cemetery was quiet, snow silently falling. I lifted my gaze across the tombstones towards the vague figures standing there. It was Lennon's family. I had called them. I wanted them to see me find new parents. A new family, to cut off any lingering ties, this life or the next. We were no longer family. Lena, I feel like I never told you something, Gavin said, carrying me slowly through the cemetery. I weakly wrapped my arms around his neck, barely whispering, what is it? I have pretty good hearing. And then, my eyelids felt heavy. I was sleepy. I heard you say you'd be my wife. You said it yourself this time. No backing out now. My hand fell limply. Gavin stopped abruptly, his eyes instantly brimming with tears, but then he smiled again and continued walking, his voice shaky but light. Well, I made the mark. Even if you reincarnate as a dog next life, I'll find you. Did you hear that, Lena? You trickster, dead trickster. Lena, snowflakes fell, chilling the tears on my cheeks. Amidst the wind and snow, a faint reply seemed to echo, you're the dog here. After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. If you liked our video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and share our channel. See you next time.